Welcome everybody. I'm Jay Morris. I'm the channel chief for Keystone, and to my right here is Richard King. He is one of the co-founders, co-owners, and the chief strategy officer for Keystone. So we're excited to be here. We're going to tell you a little bit about our company and what we do. We're going to try to run through these slides really quick. The one thing I would ask is so we can get to maybe some Q&A, and also if everybody here has a cell phone or has a tablet, please have it out and ready, because we're going to show you something really cool that you'll be able to pull up right while we're here. So first we'll tell you a little bit about us, Richard.
Yeah, so Keystone Solutions, we started back in 2006. My business partner had a company, we were competitors. We kind of merged, and since about 2008, we were partners and just grew it from 2 guys up to 30 employees we are today. So we're headquartered in Cleveland, Tennessee, which is just north of Chattanooga. We have offices in Knoxville. Our footprint is probably 85% predominantly the Southeast. So we go, if you take Texas up to Arkansas, go across the top of Kentucky, hit the coast and come down, that's probably where most of our business is. We do business nationwide. So we just through just some deployments we used to do years ago, we are well centered with a lot of field technicians, third party, that have personal relationships with us, done business with us in the past. So we are about, it says 500 unique customers, about 300 of those are on a monthly. So they're doing our just full-on residual services. And so that's kind of the basic of who we are. We are, I mean, if you want to know who we are, it's just we are IT team as a service. We are a third-party outsourced IT department. That is what people do. We're handling everything from the service desk through the network up through the firewalling, wireless. Obviously, our goal with you is that you're going to bring in the circuits, you're going to bring in whatever you're bringing in. We're the inside people helping make sure that stuff works. So the service is just that, all tiers. 2 things keep us going with every customer. We're focused on business continuity and security. We got to keep people up and we got to keep people safe. That's also, that's all the SMB market cares about, which is important. We live between 20 and 500 users. We really are not looking for more than 500. Not to say we can't do it. It's just usually you're moving into enterprise, and it's probably bigger than we just care to take on at the size we are today. So the main thing is looking at ISP diversity, your backups, both on servers and all in the Microsoft. We are Microsoft Gold partners, so most of what we do is Microsoft 365 and network monitoring. We're all doing the up-down. We're doing your patches. We're doing your updating. Security is a big, obviously everybody talks about security now, and we just look at security as part of that package of what we bring in to any customer. And we kind of broke it out in a few ways specifically for agents like yourselves. We got our security wrap, which is almost just a have to. And what the security wrap's going to do, it's going to put in your advanced email threat protection, so your spam filtering and things like that. We would always put in user awareness training, some dark web monitoring. And then we also have a compliance wrap. Compliance is just another stack on top that's going to make sure that if you have compliance, if you're NIST, HIPAA, PCI, it's going to cover those things and make sure that it's completely, just all put together. We do also, part of our package puts in that virtual CIO, CTO consulting. We do that as part of our package. In the end, what we're looking to is just to bring a one static cost, just as you would expect from an IT department.
So, a couple differentiators. And first of all, let's talk about, MSPs, right? Because it's a word, it's an acronym that's thrown around the industry like mad, right? This CLEX and MSP, this company also provides MSP services. We provide the full MSP stack, from the desktop to every device, to every tablet, to every phone, for every employee in the company. That's kind of what our base service model looks like. And then all the other things that we put on top of that are managing the network, managing the endpoints, managing the LAN and the WAN, and right down to, they got a problem with Office 365, or they got a problem with their email, whatever, and they just need those traditional help desk services as well. So we're a 100% local, onshore. We don't do any offshoring. We don't do any after hours offshoring. We keep everything here in the U.S. because we want our customers to feel like they are, like their IT person, or what we call our IT team as a service, is right in-house. Like the main person running it is down the hall from them. Just like a traditional company that might have 1 or 2 IT support people, we're providing that same level of service. So we're very competitive. We're channel centric. Basically everything that we sell is through you guys. We don't have a direct sales force out there pounding on doors and running into you. And the other thing is that we definitely stay in our lane.
Just step back a couple of feet, please.
Sure. We definitely stay in our lane. We're not looking for the circuit business. We're not. As a matter of fact, what we're looking to do is provide you the tools and the intel that you need to make sure you're always up to speed on what your customer is looking for. And I can tell you this is, once a company like us that's managing everything from the desktop on down is in there, everything that's going on inside that company, we're typically going to know first. And it's our job to pass that information on to you so you can act on it. So our mission is basically our 2 pillars. That's what we start with. Everything is about business continuity and security. And our purpose is, we all have an IT passion here for what we do. And it's to apply that and to give our customers a really good experience. And all of our core values and everything, you'll get a copy of this. You can read through those at your leisure. Again, we get down to our 2 pillars of service: business continuity and security. That's where everything starts. Yeah, and a little bit about our 2 stacks, our 2 primary stacks, which are MSP and security. Go ahead.
And I'm going to blow through this pretty quick. Just in our stacks, we have what I call our basic stack, which is just because we do a security wrap and a compliance wrap for a very specific reason. The security wrap pretty much is going to have to come through us, but sometimes we know that you may have some extra level of cybersecurity that y'all are selling that you need to bring in. We don't mind if you're stacking that on top of what we're doing. We'll help manage that on the internal, make sure everything connects. That's why, like, for the lack of a better term, we like to be your inside person on the LAN, and that's what we are doing. You basically act as the account manager for the customer, and our job is to make sure that you are always informed on what these customers are doing. Go to the next one real quick there. So again, from a security, we always do endpoint management, an MDR, EDR. We're going to have everything you expect with security. We were down here meeting with a law firm yesterday who talked big security. The holes were glaring when they looked at it. They had an internal person. It looked good, but when you get into what a true security picture looks like, they just weren't there. So we just make sure we do we're hitting all the buttons. Next one there. And then again, a compliance wrap. A lot of this are things that can be more, especially where you see the asterisks. These are things that we can start breaking out and making things fit to what you need, because we understand you have people, through Telecom and what you guys are doing, you have a lot of options, especially in cybersecurity. That's the thing. We look at hybrid models. We're small enough to kind of start adjusting things. We just did a pretty big deal I was just talking about Dan with, where we really had to adjust what we were doing to what the customer wanted. Comes in, we close the deal. So
yeah, which is also another differentiator, right? Because a lot of times, particularly on the security side, an MSP or an MSSP wants to come in and they want to change everything. They want you to be compliant with this. They want you to absolutely, they only work in the cloud. They won't work with your devices and things like that. We like to take our customers on a journey that they can do at their own pace, that they can understand why that they're doing it. Makes the relationship much longer and much stickier.
Next one.
Next.
Yeah.
So the deliverables we're looking for is to try to give them that sort of that feeling of, they know who their MSP is. They know all the people inside. We're talking to them on a first name basis. They're not having to go through all kinds of bells and whistles to identify their account. We're getting all that information when they call into us. We already know who they are before we pick up the phone. So we try to deliver that sort of white glove experience.
Yeah, we are, and that's what I was going to say. We are a little more boutique. We're definitely smaller than a lot of the other MSPs that are on your in your program, and from that standpoint is how we can do it. We're still small enough to be very versatile.
Right.
Next.
One thing, obviously, our customers are always getting, from an engagement is everything that they don't believe they know what it is and where it is. When we get done, they do. So if that we all got hit by a truck, they would be able to move on the next day. That's the whole purpose of this. We give them a very easy, friendly portal to to be able to look at and track everything. We provide them a virtual CIO time every month to be able to work with us if they need some things like that. And then obviously it's always continuous training. And we run into so many customers all the time that say, well, yeah, our MSP does that. Well, do they do it? Is there a scheduled every quarter, every 6 months, a full training program that you take them through? We do that, and we stick to it. This is just a little bit more about our onboarding process. You can read through that in the slides. It's a little hard stuff to see. And then on the expectation side is we're an exclusive TCG Telecom partner. When I brought Keystone into to Dan, I told him, listen, this is my family, okay? I've been doing business with TCG, and I've been following them, and they've been following me for 30 years. So this is my home from a master perspective. Simple, straightforward engagements. We will uncover hidden opportunities that even you don't know about with some of your clients, and we will expose those for you to take advantage of. We have a whole group of sales engineers that are just a phone call away. You can quickly qualify your customers with what we call our IT Team as a Service app, and you're going to get a look at that, and that's the reason why we asked you to bring up your devices. We stay in our lane, as I already mentioned. You have opportunity protection. Obviously, as we're ahead of the curve typically on all these opportunities, we're seeing what the customer is possibly thinking about or looking at before often they even start making phone calls, whether it's to us or other potential vendors, to investigate it. We're going to transfer that information to you. And obviously, because we're sort of the insider, we are the IT department typically in most of these engagements, we're going to help close your other deals for you and move them along. So here's a slide that I just put together to just explain a little bit about what I call gem end or dead end. So it's a small customer. They got 10, 15, 20 employees. They got a primary circuit. Maybe they have wireless failover and they have 10, 15 hosted seats. It's a $400 MRR opportunity to you and about $80 a month maybe in your pocket. But that same customer is potentially going to bill $4,000 on the IT Team as a Service side. So a customer that you would typically walk away from because there's really not a tremendous amount of opportunity there, all of a sudden does so, assuming that we can take over their IT department. You want to go through our sweet spot a little bit?
Sure. Right now, if you looked at our book of business today, we probably average 50 users as our average customer. Average billings probably around that $4,000 to $5,000 a month. We have up to 500. My largest customer as an IT Team as a Service is 500. So, and we're really not in any real vertical. However, we do seem to be heavy in professional services. We're talking about architectural firms, engineering firms, accountants, attorneys, things like that. We're very heavy in healthcare, especially high growth. Like we've gotten in with a few PE firms, and like we've got one right now. It's a dental company. They're growing 20 locations a year, and we're just part of that. Fortunately for us, guess what? That was not agent backed, so we're getting to sell all the circuits on that or anything. But as I know y'all are tied into PE firms, it's a great way to just pull us in to be able to do all that due diligence with them, get all that resources, and you're just generating, because we always put sd-wan device, which is on monthly. Most of what we're doing is a monthly service, and that's all got a residual commission tied to it. For the biggest business focus, obviously we're looking at most things that we're doing seem to be high growth expansion. Most of our customers do not seem to be sitting still. They're not decreasing, they're increasing.
Yeah, and they've just made they've made a clear decision that they don't want to build a giant IT staff, to support their day-to-day operations. They'd much rather just farm it out. They're going to get a much better experience because if you've got 500 employees and 10 of them are calling in within an hour of each other, there's not a single IT support person or even two that can support that on a responsive and timely basis. Yeah. So by having 22 people in chair, you know, in the office, you know, handling tickets every day, we can spread that out and give them a much better experience.
And one thing real quick, we are a cloud-first organization. We do traditional infrastructure, servers, things like that, but just know we're going to be pushing any customer toward cloud. From an agent standpoint, what does that mean? There's not much money in the hardware, but when you move them to the cloud, it moves again to a residual standpoint. So, you know, not that it's all about money, it's about, you know, what's best for the customer, but it's opening up other revenue sources for you that add to that MRR on the customer.
This is just a couple of recent engagements. One is from probably somebody most of you know, Eric Judge from EarthNet here locally in Fort Lauderdale. He doesn't give out references easy. He's a tough cookie. He's a tough guy to please. And you can, if you can hopefully tell by that quote, if you can't, you can read it later when you get a copy of this. But it's a very nice compliment. And then the second one here is from another engagement that we just closed with Graham. And as you can see, he was, you know, quite pleased, and he's got a few more in the funnel.
What's the minimum customer size that you guys would take, just to put it out so everybody knows?
Usually it's 20 users. We'll go below, it depends on our monthly minimum's 1,500.
Okay.
So we look for, if the MRR is over 1,500, we'll take it. But we try and stay around that 20 works the best. But we're not really about the size as much as the MR, you know, it's more in are they all in with how we're trying to design things? Because the smaller the customer, you know, your margins and everything you're else doing as a business gets harder because of how they use our service. We're an unlimited service.
Without naming the name of the customer, maybe just saying the industry, would you mind going through the two and kind of like how they chose you guys? I mean, just so everyone kind of understands.
Sure, the first one's a law firm, 20 users. Just had a full-time IT staff that walked out on them. They were just in a big, we actually saved them quite a bit. The guy was highly overpaid, and we saved them 25% off the bat, and we brought in, I'd say, double the services. They're on a full, they've got our whole package. Anything we're doing, they're kind of doing. So 20 users, it's billing out right at $4,500 a month today. You know, Eric brought in his own VoIP package. We worked with that carrier to hook the VoIP up, and then while in there, they've had a few instances we're able to get a second circuit that came through Eric. We told him we needed it, convinced the partner to move one to fiber, one to coax, and so that's all going through Eric and coming through. The second one's an engineering, they're kind of an engineering firm, architectural firm. They're out of Atlanta. And they were, the main person there was actually doing all the work himself. And so we've come in and taken that whole load off of him, and he was the CIO, basically, even setting up desktops. And so again, that's about a 30 user account. It's going to bill out somewhere, at the end, it's still kind of new. We're just finishing the onboarding process with them, but it looks like they're going to end up at 5,000. And again, it's one of those to where we're bringing in redundant circuits. So Graham's going to start looking at that. We're already looking at redundancy. And then with him, there's a firewall that we're going to bring in that's going to become monthly versus a one-time pay. But that was a nice one. Engineering and architecture is a little harder.
Do you see IT companies walk out on customers often? Is that like kind of common?
No, I see IT personnel walk out. Okay. IT companies, that's why I think MSPs are the way to go. They don't walk out on customers. People may change MSPs, but we're all about the documentation processes and everything, and it's why we're, to my opinion, we're better than an IT professional, because that person's always probably looking to move up in their job.
Yeah,
have a hand back there.
And I would simply add to the second one that this was also a customer that had a number of proposals, large and small MSPs that competed against us on this particular project. And in addition, it came down to us and a very small but very close by MSP, like a block away, that was going to, somewhat make them feel a little bit more comfortable. They could just reach out and grab somebody. And of course, they're in Atlanta, so we don't have an office there, but we're close enough. But it was a very competitive deal. They were actually a little slightly higher than us, and we still won the deal.
So if we have a customer we'd like to introduce you to, is there somebody that will go out on site with us to run an appointment? I mean, for those of us that sell traditionally VoIP and pipes, we're not IT people.
Right.
We know enough to be dangerous, but is there somebody down here that
You,
we can take out?
you call me, we'll set up an appointment, we'll go see him if it's here locally in South Florida, or, you know, either that or
You're down here.
we'll set up a Teams meeting. Yeah, I'm based down here in South Florida, so.
And they also jump on calls too, like as had an agent.
Immediately.
Right.
They jump on the call, I kind of watch the process, and they're just explaining to the customer how they're gonna do it, so they
Yeah.
can get on a web call or even Jay's local.
Right.
Yeah, Dan's had the benefit of sitting in on one of our engagements.
You've
so.
got back here.
Go ahead.
So, you're a national company?
Yes.
So I've got a client in Boise, Idaho on a potato farm that
Mm-hmm.
has a server and it goes down to yesterday. How do you respond to that?
I mean, first thing we would have to ask is what's going to be the MRR. We get a lot of people wanting us to come do break fix. We have the ability to do it. The biggest problem I have is obviously, as any other company, my technicians run about 85% utilization. So to take on some time and material work's a little tough. If we think that time and material is going to move into the MRR that we want, we'll take on that work because it's just showing yourself for the customer. So if it's a singular server, it's
No, I'm
just
just using it as an example.
Yeah,
Are you able to support anywhere in the United States?
Yes.
Where if we, we're an MSP and our clientele is primarily down here in South Florida, but we do have clients around.
Yeah, we use third party to do it. We just use Smart
Yeah.
Hands in that case, and we just have technicians that get the thing where we need to be, and we can walk through most of the people we do through everything. Because of some of the larger customers we have, we pretty much kind of have relationships with people in almost every major market that can go in and do stuff.
Yeah, whether it's those relationships or it's our Field Nation, for instance, portal that we've used, but we've been using that for a decade. And after a certain amount of time, you begin to develop relationships, or you have favorites that you use and you engage on particular projects depending on what that skill set's required, which is basically the same way that every national MSP, CDW, and everybody else under the sun is using. We're all using the same platform.
Next one.
So this is why I told you to pull out your devices. So if you could humor us for a moment. You don't have to do it now, but if you would like to, just to, maybe some people will come up with some questions, and that should open a what we call the ITTASAAS estimator, and you'll see that you can basically get to a roundabout number on what it's going to cost your client for service by answering as little as 5 questions and as many as 9. Depending on whether they need advanced compliance, and
Is this data gathering?
no, it's
It is not, but
not yet, but it probably will be. So right now you're getting in under the radar before we've tied everything else to it.
Do you guys manage and support moves from on-prem to Azure VMs, for example?
yes.
Yes,
You do? Okay, so you'll handle the entire migration.
Yes.
You guys
correct.
shoot applications functioning correctly in
Yes.
Azure after you move? Okay.
Correct.
Migration's a huge part of our business. Most of my engineers are tied up. Most of their time is just migrations, pulling people from traditional servers up into Azure into normally a full DC/AD type environment. Or we do, a lot of times we're getting rid of the server altogether if they're Microsoft 365 and pull them up just Azure AD. If they don't really need the full functions of a domain controller, an Active Directory, we can pull them up, and then that's free within that. So depending on, we've saved some customers a lot of money just in that area. And then the good thing about once they're up in Azure, that just tends to grow. People's needs grow. So yeah. And one thing about this tool, this is an estimator, obviously. It's just the most basic data set, but it does give you an idea, and it hits it on the users, compliance wrap, security wrap, how many servers. I just do an estimation for backup of servers in it, and it just comes out with a number, but it shows you kind of what onboarding would cost and what you can expect. It's just because that's what we get for most people is, how do I know if I have 40 users, what would it bill? Here you go. We'll just throw it out there.
And literally from the moment that you do that, it takes about 3 minutes after you press send. Okay, it will appear in your inbox. You put the proper information in there. The estimate will appear in your inbox, and it sort of appears like a full-blown proposal. It's going to give you all the explanation of everything that we're providing. And what's kind of cool about that, and other people that we've already turned on to it to use, is it starts to create an educational process, right? Because you're seeing things in there that now have charges associated with them. And as you may encounter with any proposal, you can look at someone's website, you can talk to them till you're blue in the face, and you may not begin to completely understand what they do. But when people start providing you proposals and there's numbers attached to it, you start to get inquisitive, you start to ask questions, you start to reach out, you start to dig deeper. And so, you know, what we're finding is it's a great tool for people to really begin to learn what, you know, the full-blown stack of MSP services is all about and how to be able to talk to it. So, that's it. Any additional questions? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I know it's, as an MSP, it's kind of a moving target, but what is your per user cost for an all-in support plan for a 50 user firm?
120 a user.
And is that like a 24/7 support?
Our support, I will say this, it's 24/7, 365 on monitoring. The security SOC is going to be at 24/7, 365. Our service desk is open pretty much from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have after-hour support that runs till about 10:30, Monday through Saturday. Because we're a small firm, a lot of people, like my cell numbers on every business card I hand out. If somebody has an emergency, we're like, please just don't wait, call us. So if you're hard down, we get calls on the Sundays, the Saturdays, whatever it takes. That's expected. But from a button a seat help desk services, it's pretty much 7 to 7 at this time. We're looking, because we're getting more and more West Coast, of moving that to 10. But that just comes with growth.
Yeah, and that after-hour support is our support. It's our people that just happen to be on
Yeah,
call.
it is our technicians.
We're not sending them to some third-party call center. Every touch that a customer has with us, they're talking to our FTEs. We're never speaking to, you know, we will never offshore this business to a call center. Absolutely not,
Correct.
because that's where the experience breaks down. That's where the employee doesn't feel like, you know, he's, you know, like the person understands them, or they have to ask, you know, they're 15 minutes into the conversation and haven't even gotten to the root of the problem yet. So, you know, and we're also one of those companies that you'll never hear coming out of our mouth, have you rebooted your PC? You know, it's like, you know.
The thing we train our technicians is we never tell them to tell the customer, I need you to do
Correct.
X. We do. If the circuits are down, we're contacting Spectrum, Comcast, whoever. If they're having an application problem, that's a connectivity problem, we're contacting that provider because it's connectivity. We don't need them wasting time on that.
Which is great news for you guys, because now you have another set of eyes on the network you sold them, you know, giving them some additional backup, so you don't have to. So you can keep selling, or, you know, not have to focus on every little problem that they have. So we're in there. So. Cool.
Okay.
Great. Thank you, everyone. We appreciate your attention.
Thank you.